Welcome, everybody. My name is Michael Camo. I'm Director of Content for T3 Live, and I am here with David Prince to make some sense of this market. A big theme today is going to be opportunity, because David views the market as a well of opportunity. And one of the things you'll see is how last week, when everyone was predicting the end of the world, David actually saw opportunity to get long and actually make some money in a smart way. So everybody, thanks for joining us. Let us know where you're dialing in from. We have a lot of people on the call. We just want to give everybody a chance to get in. So type in the chat, let us know where you are from. So David, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Nice rally in the markets. No complaints by me.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's go through our agenda here. So first thing is to introduce you to David Prince and the Inner Circle VTF, show you how this community is doing, and help you understand if you should join. Now, stick around because we are going to announce something special in about 30 minutes. So a little bit about David and the Inner Circle VTF. So David has an interesting background because he was actually a nightclub owner in New York City in the 90s. He moved into the financial industry, became a hedge fund manager. He helped put SPACs on the map with Jamba Juice, American Apparel, Immunome, Hydrofarm. And in 2020, he partnered with T3 to create an elite trading room and community for hedge fund managers, family offices, high net worth individuals, basically people, serious traders with large accounts. So David, could you talk a little bit about what led you to create the Inner Circle room?
Absolutely. So didn't know anything about the trading world because I come from a different part of the world. But as I learned about it, I found out about T3 and Scott's wonderful community, Scott Redler. And I found myself over trading intraday in my fund from time to time. And I thought, well, that might be interesting to have some people, like-minded people to chat with. It was a great group of people. I enjoyed it. And I basically shared my book, what I was doing, and just made a bunch of friends. Did it for about 6-7 years, and really nice people. But it became almost like a job where it took a little bit too much of my time, and I was giving the input. I wasn't getting much back. Not that there's anything wrong. There were some great guys, but I wasn't getting a lot of idea flow. And I just, after a number of years, thought, how cool, right? That I'm not the best. There's other guys better than me. There are other guys like me. What if we can put them all together on one chat? I can give what I'm doing rather than have 50,000 people messaging me on 8 million platforms about what I'm doing. What if I just find one platform to do it? I get some other people that run money that I respect. They share idea flow. Maybe 2 and 2 ends up being 8. So brought the idea to T3, and we came up with the Inner Circle. And thank God it's been good.
Okay, yeah. So just a little bit more about Inner Circle. So it is an exclusive trading room and community. It includes hedge fund managers, family office heads, corporate executives, financial advisors, and more. And we require a $100,000 account to join and 2 years of experience. It's led, of course, by David and also Kira Turner and Rick March. And so just a few comments from members. Candace from New York, we always see Candace on Twitter. Hopefully she's here. What truly makes Inner Circle special is David sharing information and details he's accumulated over 30 years. Terry said their guidance, education, and sharing of knowledge to navigate the markets is what benefits my P&L. And David from California says, I've recommended the room to other traders. And that is a constant theme. People are always recommending Inner Circle to other people. So we're going to go through some highlights of the room, and then as far as look back on some of the more important calls of the year. So David, I think a big thing Inner Circle really helps people with is staying out of trouble. Now, you made a pretty distinct proclamation after Netflix earnings. So could you tell us how you reacted to Netflix?
Yeah, so I would say at least my edge, right, is I use charts, but I also use 30 years of knowledge, have a lot of friends in media, understand what makes a stock like Netflix tick, what analysts make it tick, and maybe that's kind of what we bring to the table that other people don't, beyond charting a stock, earnings were better or not. So after a blowout report, subs with twice expectations, and everyone was flipping out. I had to go on a Spaces, and right before the Spaces, I saw a headline that said, we are changing our metrics. We will no longer provide in 2025 guidance on paid subscribers. And I said, game over. Like, for right now, game over. Because when a company has to tell you that they want to be viewed in a completely different manner, that means that part of the growth story is over. It's just simple English. And I explained to everyone in a quick fashion before I went to the spaces, hey, this is what Apple did when they saw the same slowdown in handsets. They wanted you to look at the company as an earnings play, or more importantly, as a services play, because software will forever have a higher multiple than something like hardware. And it was very successful for Apple, right? The problem is they had this built-in services business. Well, everyone, of course, said to me, but how about advertising? And I said, how about it? It's in its infancy. That's just starting. So I looked at it and I said, game over. This company is in a mature market. They literally want you to view the company differently. Doesn't mean it doesn't trade at a decent PE, which some people pointed out. I said, but that is not what we care about. What the street cares about is subs. And to convince them to look at the stock differently means it goes lower. Frankly, I think it was about 580 down 25 or 30 after hours. I said, game over, like 550 is coming. And I guess by the end of the next day, it was 550. But I had a lot of people who tried to walk me through, but earnings do matter, and this trades at a low PE. And I said, no, narrative matters short term. And Netflix is a sub-story and always will be and always has been. Now, if they want to change that and have the street believe differently, that doesn't happen in a day. That takes some discourse and some poor action. So I said, game over, and stock went down, I don't know, 40 points or so. But I think what I brought to the table was simply, hey, this is how the street's going to react to this news. Whether you think it's bad news or not, I don't care. I know how the street's going to react.
Okay, I think this is a good, a constant theme you're going to see throughout this presentation is David helps people avoid making very, very expensive mistakes. Okay, David, why don't we talk a little bit? So last week you had a quick overnight in AMD where you were getting in at after hours at under 160 and exiting at 165 plus the next day. So could you give us a little idea into your thinking here?
Sure. That one was really more cute. What we were looking for is just in a market that was becoming a bit oversold. What was most oversold? What could we play? And frankly, that was a very specific case. So we had a heads up that one of the better research firms on the street, not a Goldman, not a Morgan Stanley, but someone who actually moves stocks, that's a data house that people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to be a part of, had a really big call. I don't know if it was Edgewater or who it was, frankly. And they had a really strong call. I said, yeah, if it pulls back, you got to own it. It'll be up a few dollars. It went up a few dollars and we sold it. I would say more than anything, it's not a special trade, but it was nice to have a heads up early on in the morning that this research house was probably going to move the stock. And being that they did, we took advantage because semis were correcting. And frankly, I said if 160 doesn't hold, God knows where it can go. It might go much lower. So that sale proved to be okay because that certainly wasn't the bottom.
Okay, now we are going to have a few different Nvidia trades because Nvidia has been where the action was. So David, on Thursday, you went out, and David also went out on a limb on Friday again, but you went on a limb on Thursday and jumped on Nvidia and exited before the end of the day for about a $25 gain. So was this a similar situation to AMD?
Yes and no. Yes, in that we bought the dip, knowing that I'm much more comfortable buying the leader, basically what I consider to be the tech market and what really the market lives and dies off of. So I would say we're much bigger size when we play a stock like Nvidia at levels we really like. And what we basically saw was a pretty simple chart that there was this gap to be filled at 823 that were lows from whatever week it was. And the closer we got to it, I said, got to buy it, right? This gap will probably hold at least first time around. So we got to 825. And frankly, I don't believe in being exact. If you're exact in this business, you miss some of the biggest moves. So I saw 825 and I thought that was good enough. And the stock rallied. Frankly, I sold it at 853, but I think stock rallied that day to 862. What I think is important to understand, though, is, there was a time 6 months ago where we were investors, and I owned XBI in the 60s and Qs literally below 300. At this stage in the game, we're a bit more neutral, meaning we've come a long way. So when I can garner a 25-point gain in a couple hours, unless I think it's early in the story, which I don't in Nvidia, I don't think the story's over, but I also don't think I caught the forever bottom. We take that gain. So in that case, it was more of a great trade. I said, I don't care if it keeps going. That's good enough. I think we missed 5 or 6, but that was our trade on Thursday, which helps us because we do this over and over. I'm sure, hopefully you'll go through them. We did one a couple weeks ago for almost 100 points. That builds a nice solid kitty. So for the moment, you get that maybe there's a real correction and you want to invest, but a chart's messy. Well, now you have a big cushion to play with because you know you're not going to get the bottom.
Okay, so yeah, so I think this was David's tweet from the day before. He said the good news is once they get done with the generals, the overall market should rally a bit. And this is what people were saying in the room. You guys are great. I'm getting better at sizing up. Nice grab on Nvidia, and so on and so on. So a little bit of a detour to JP Morgan. So you were talking about JP Morgan having potential, I believe, in the 176 to 178 area. And this is a good example of Inner Circle working together. And Rick March, our friend out there, came up with an idea for JPM calls. So what was your thinking on that buy level in JP Morgan?
Sure. Long story short, I wasn't really bullish on JPM going into the print simply because it was right at highs, right? And I just didn't see any meat on the bone. After a bit of a subpar report compared to, say, Goldman Sachs, who really hit the cover off the ball, we had a really aggressive pullback into a very definable moving average. I believe it was the 100-day, but let me check. If not, it was the 50, but I think it was actually the 100. Yeah, it was the 100-day. Bottom line, I saw 176, 177. And I said, this is because we're not all about tech, right? We're all about the best risk reward that's out there. So as JPM came in, I said, the story's not over, right? It's still the best banker in the world running the joint. Many people bought the call stock under 180. I guess, honestly, never went to 176. So I personally missed it. I was pissed off, but most of the room actually seemed to have bought it. Anyway, long story short, they bought it. And I think some people are still holding it. We tend to trim and trail. But at 192, it's been a big home run because that was last week. That was like 4 or 5 days ago. So.
Okay, I think, all right, so we have a Home Depot trade, but David, I'm actually going to skip over because I think we should
even talk about the good stuff.
All right, yeah, we are about to get to the good stuff. So guys, right. So on Friday, so David, we're setting you up. So get ready, David. Okay, so Friday was a miserable day in the markets. Everybody was in a very bad mood Friday because Friday's a tough day. But these are some of the comments from the Inner Circle room. So, and this is real stuff. If you join the room, you could scroll back and see these comments. Your Nvidia guidance has been awesome all morning. You kept my head from getting demolished. That was an amazing day of trading QQQ. Great week and appreciate all of the guidance. So let's get into the Qs, David. So again, Friday was a nasty day and you were getting long those Qs. Why?
So a few things. The first thing that I'd like to point out is when the Qs were looking fabulous and everyone was so happy, say 435 to 440, not right at the high, but 435 to 445. I said, it's time to play neutral. And we put on a lot of shorts. I shorted the Qs several times. I said, I'm just not a believer that there's a lot of meat on the bone. Let's see what earnings season tells us. So after having, let's say, I don't know, about 20% of the positions I'd normally carry, where many of us have 10, 20, 30 positions, I was down to like 4 or 5 every day, simply because I didn't see much to do, and often a lot of them were short. So we finally get this correction. And it wasn't a normal correction, right? That was very specific to the semis, and it was vicious. It was SMCI down 23% in a day. And by the way, for a reason that we fully understood, which I'm sure we can get into later on if people want, but it brought the house down, and it brought the top general down, Nvidia. Now, a lot of people said game over, right? The world's ending, game over, Nvidia just lost 10%. And what I always teach people or try and convey to people I mentor is, well, first off, the world, if you bet on the world ending, it generally doesn't happen. And we're not really at the dynamic where the world ends. Yeah, I get it. The market's overvalued. I've been saying that for the last month. I get it. We're not going to have 6 rate cuts, maybe even not 3. All of that. But that's why we were risk off. And that's why we had a lot of shorts on. Then the market comes in, Nvidia breaks down, and there's a few things. The first thing is when they get to the top general, that's actually a bullish sign. That's why I wrote that tweet. when they finally get to all the top guys, Apple had been broken, Tesla had been broken, and certainly AMD and a million other names, when they finally get to the best name out there, Nvidia, it's usually a sign that there's going to be a short-term bounce. Doesn't mean the bottom's in, but it certainly means we're probably due a bounce. So one, I thought that was a great sign for the Qs. Two, if you look at the Qs, the December highs were about where we came into. So even though we broke the 100-day, I saw the 200-day was far, far beneath there. We weren't going to test it unless the world was coming to an end. We had to bounce first, in my opinion. So we had a 29 RSI, which is not deeply oversold, but it's the lowest RSI we've seen in the Qs in 6 months. We came into a level that was the prior December highs, right at 413. So you can kind of look, prior highs become near-term support. And then you basically think everyone and their mother is now risk off. And everyone's on the same side. If there's ever a chance to rally, it's going to be Monday and Tuesday. It's not going to be Friday, right, before a weekend, but I think we'll open up on Monday and Tuesday and probably have a rally. And frankly, I didn't say we're going to 426, 427, so I think we'll rally back to the 100-day, 422, 423 type of thing. Right now we're at 426, so even better than I thought. So that's why we took the Qs. I can get into Nvidia if you want. While I'm talking about this, you tell me.
Yep, I got the Nvidia chart on the screen, so yes.
Okay, so then Nvidia breaks down, right? And I basically tell everyone, we started trading it, to be frank with you, like that day when it brought 823, I bought some at 815, it bounced back to 823, but now the market's in turmoil. And I explained to everyone, if you're going to buy Nvidia today, every time it bounces 10, 20 points, you need to be able to trim some until we feel there's an identifiable level that holds. Otherwise, it's just knife catching, right? Which I don't believe. So I finally said, 800 is realistic. I'm not really going to do much till it gets to 800. Bought a little bit at 800, goes to 809, to 812, 813, trim some. Then we see the market rally and Nvidia doesn't rally with it. And I'm walking you through exactly as it happened because it's better that way. I said, Nvidia is not rallying. It's probably going to flush through 800. This could get bad. Meanwhile, there are other people kind of hedged, like a lot of people were shorting SMCI that day and so on, which I was very bearish on. Sure enough, it flushes 800. And I said, okay, here's the deal. The world's ending. Everyone's fearful. This is where I think it's going to be time to invest soon. These are our real levels. 775 is my key level. That's where I really like Nvidia a lot as an investment again. I'm willing to go home long. 775 comes, we buy some. It got ugly. It got to 756. My next buy was 762. And what I explained to everyone is, listen, it's Nvidia. You have to take a shot, but in my opinion, but as you take a shot, you also must realize there's no low. We don't know where the low is. There's no such a thing. So the next available low I can look at is 740. So please leave room, but I am comfortable investing here. And if everyone is risk off and I have no identifiable news specific to Nvidia, and we're going to bounce next week, they're buying one stock. They're not buying AMD. They're not buying Micron. They're not buying Dell. They're not buying Broadcom. They're buying those after Nvidia. So if you believe we bounce, then you got to own Nvidia. And I said, honestly, I think 823 comes. And sure enough, today, because I'm a little impatient, because I find this, I still am not that bullish. The market, we bought it, started trimming at like 792, 793 yesterday, and I closed it today at about 809. I'd love to say I'm bullish forevermore, but it's earnings season, so I'm still a bit neutral. But when everyone thought the game was over, I said, it might be an SMCI. And I said, Micron's a great company, but it's only going to rally after Nvidia rallies. And Dell, their business is fantastic off of Nvidia, but it's only going to rally after Nvidia. So if we're going to buy something on the dip that's ugly, we're going to go with the best in breed name because that's where the money's going to flow first. And we've done that for years.
Okay, and on top of the stock, David also had a great call in Nvidia calls. These are messages from Monday. Nice job and conviction. So we're going to go through some of the other big highlights from 2024. So you've seen David helping people the last week in one of the hardest weeks of the market. Friday was basically markets in turmoil territory, and David called it the other way, and things work out. So David, we're going to start with one of the bigger, positive memories in Inner Circle from January was the first big SMCI. There have been many SMCI calls in Inner Circle, but the first one was when the stock was at 340, I don't know if anybody can remember that. David said it's going to 400, and this happened. It happened like an hour after David said it. So, David, could you give us a little rewind on
Sure.
this SMCI call from back in the day?
I think the way we describe ourselves in the room, well, not I think, but it's not about day trading, right? I don't worry about making money tomorrow or like next Friday or making my nut for the month. It's about being in the best risk reward scenarios. And at the end of the year, hopefully we kill it, right? So when I see an SMCI situation, whether it's long or short, that's where I really take a stab, or Nvidia, the way we did on Thursday and Friday. So SMCI was a particular one. They pre-announced earnings, and I went through the numbers and I realized this company's growing 100% a year and it's trading at a teens multiple. Like it's trading at 16, 17 times earnings. So I said, it's either outright fraud, like game over, fraud, someone's going to prison, or it's going into the 400s at the least. Like there's no in between. It's either a fraud or this stock literally has to go to the 400s, because you can't grow 100% a year, be tied into Nvidia the way they are, and literally just trade in the teens. So I aggressively bought at 340, and I guess the next day it went to, my memory, it's like 487 or 489. It was an insane move.
Yeah. Then there was, these were the messages in the chat. Thank you for the call out under 340. And again, it went over 400 that day, 487 the next day. David has a dog issue right now, so he will be back with us in just. Okay, David, everything good with the animals?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So then there was the one of the better inner circle calls of all time was when infamously David pointed out the RSI and SMCI was over, I believe, 97. Yep. And this turned into one of the great lotto trades of all time. So could you talk quickly about this one? So, because we have a whole bunch of calls to get through. So let's kind of zip through these, David.
Sure. SMCI. So we wrote it for a while and we were long on and off. I can't say I was smart enough to just sit on that 340 and ride it all the way to 1,000. But then there was a point at about 1,000 where, frankly, it was insane. The size of the move, the velocity of the move, and most importantly, the RSI was 97. I said, listen, this is not a game, so you can get your head handed to you. So you have to quantify, like this is for big boys and girls only. You have to understand a stock like this can keep going. However, I've only seen one other stock at 97 RSI, and it was GME. And I don't believe this is GameStop, right? It's not going to zero, and it's a real company earning real money. But I also don't believe, after going up nearly 400% a straight line at 97 RSI, that it is not going to pull back. So I was short stock between 1,000 and 1,050. And I told people, I said, if you're going to play, games with the stock, you have to be willing in a stock like this to be down 50 to make 100 or 200, just the way it is. You're not getting the exact top. More importantly, that day, for people that maybe are a little less, that are a little more risk averse than myself, because we really do try and cater. There are plenty of bigger accounts with us, but there are people who don't want to go out and short 1,000 SMCI. It's just not their cup of tea. So we looked at puts, and I said, listen, it's a Friday. This stock is so overbought. I think there is a darn good shot it flushes today, that the correction I'm looking for happens today, and that is a wonderful coincidence, because on a Friday, we don't have to pay a lot of IB for options. So we're going to take a shot, and we're going to buy puts to the downside. Now, the puts had such crazy IB. Even at 1050, I think we bought the 950 puts. And people paid between, like, I think the low of 258 and a high of like 3. It almost doesn't matter based on where they went. Anyway, to walk you through where the stock went, because what we try and do is not just post a trade, really walk you through why, how, and where. So as I'm short above 1050, I remember this. There was a low of 1045 that day. Said, listen, I'm short the stock, and there's a bunch of people buying puts. If we take out that 1040, we're going to go to 1,000 in a tick, but understand that this stock can be down 150 points on air. Please manage your position and don't just count your P&L. Let it work. So a bunch of people went out and bought those 950 puts. And frankly, I did not close my short till about 880. And most people didn't sell their puts till 880. It eventually, I think, went to 800 that day. and those puts went to, most people sold them by 100, but those puts went to $150 from 3. That's the trade.
Okay, David. All right, let's go through because like not everything is about a massive overnight options trade. Not everything.
Most things are. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are normal, quote unquote, normal trades in Inner Circle, longer term ideas. So David, you named Amazon as your top Mag 7 stock of 2024. You said specifically it has a magnet to 188, which you can see on the screen, and it hit 189.99. So what was your thinking with Amazon this year?
Sure. In the 140s, I was very long stock and calls, and basically my thought was this. First off, it was maybe the only Mag 7 stock not to make a new high in 2 years. It has underperformed its peers by leaps and bounds. Perhaps more importantly, on the fundamental side, they're getting their house in order, right? They are shutting down warehouses. They are selling planes. They are cutting the fat out. There's only so much they can do. Obviously, they need a lot of employees, but they're really serious about it. On top of it, AWS has seen a resurgence. Cloud spending is pretty solid, and retail remains strong. Also, their new CEO is no joke. He might be more important than Bezos. He's the man who created AWS, after all. A lot of people forget who Andy Jassy is. So I said, I think it's time to play catch up, and I think it's going to at least tap the previous all-time highs. I didn't come up with 188 by some magic chart. Those are the previous all-time highs, and I think that's where it's going. It's time to make up for some lost time. And we played it into earnings. We played it after earnings, and it remains, an incredible winner. I'm not in it right now. I'll probably be in it again for earnings next week because I happen to like the risk reward into it. But it was a big win for us.
Okay, so let's talk about, I think this was one of his more unique ideas. And this is kind of an Inner Circle signature idea because I've been in this business for over 20 years. I've never even heard of this company, even though it's been around for a while. So Immunome, which is a biotech company. And sorry. Okay. All right. David is battling with the dogs and horses and God knows what else he has.
Let's do this. We're done. We're good. All right.
Okay, David. Okay, you could put the dog on your lap if it helps. Okay, so Immunome. Now, a lot of people see how this stock went down quite a bit, but you could see right there, David was recommending to trim and trail, and that was after it rose 200%, and it's still up over 30% this year. So, David, could you walk us through quickly the Immunome story and why you liked it so much?
Sure. So just, up front, I financed the company with my 2 partners years ago. And one of my partners is basically the largest shareholder. So I'm very familiar with the company, the science. It's a B-cell company in biotech that's focused on oncology. But my partner basically made one of the all-time coups in biotech history, which basically he got Clay Siegall on the phone, who founded Seagen. Seagen, for anyone that doesn't know, top play in oncology that was bought by Pfizer for $42 billion, and convinced Clay to take a look at Immunome and maybe come take it over. Make a long story short, Clay came over and merged his new company in with Immunome. Clay is one of the most important people ever to be in biotech. So here we have this Immunome, which quality company. They have some deals during COVID. They've gotten somewhere with B cells. I don't want to get too scientific, but it's shown itself to be a very possible, big win, right? One time during COVID, the stock went from 11 to 9, but nothing with meat on the bone yet for the long term. Anyway, long story short, we get one of the top CEOs in the world to merge his company. He becomes chairman and CEO. That's Clay Siegall of a $700-800 million company. This guy didn't build Seagen, one of the most important ADC companies, which is the biggest theme there is in biotech. He didn't come to Immunome to create some rinky-dink company. So I did the math, and I said, listen, I don't know if it takes 6 months. I don't know if it takes a year. The stock is between 6 and 7. Clay has made all the most important biotech institutions in the world billions, not $1 million, but billions. So now you have the opportunity, right, to own a stock between 6 and 7 that Clay runs with under $1 billion market cap. Are you willing to follow one of the top jockeys ever in the history of biotech? People, because I've done okay with this sort of thing through 30 years, people followed me. We own some size in the 6s and 7s. And I have no problem telling you, it changed people's lives forever. And maybe more importantly, because when it was 10 and 12, they weren't out. I said, this is truly the beginning of a bigger story. And let me tell you why. Not just because of Clay, it's because someone just raised $100 million at 6. All these people can sell. It's now 12 and 14. No one's selling. Where do you think the stock's going? If all these people did a raise at 6 and it's 11, 12. That's where sometimes banking experience really comes in. Then we get to 20. And I'm like, all right, now many people are up to 250%. It's time to trim. And frankly, we got all the way to 30. And I said, now it's time to sell most. And this is a long-term story, but some of you have changed your lives forever. You're up 300-400%. People had options up thousands of percent. It's time to really take some risk off the table. I'm betting on Clay making several acquisitions and creating the next biotech home run, but it's going to take a couple of years. And the stock went up almost 400% at one time. So I said it's time to be risk off, and we did get risk off. Then travel a little further, stock came all the way into 20 where they did a secondary. And I said, people are bearish on a secondary. Clay is best friends with all the best institutions in the world. This is the best buying opportunity you're ever going to get short term. So we bought some size on the secondary at 20. That day, it went to 23. A few days later, it was 27. I said, time to risk off again. The bottom line is anytime we've been near 30, I've said, time to really take some risk off, let the stock trade. And recently, when the chart broke, I said, don't just buy it back. Don't be cute. The market changed. You know, where I try and bring to the table that I hope is important. Well, I know it's important, so no reason to be modest. That's important is really money management, right? When to be risk on, when to be risk off. Well, this stock's correcting. I don't care how good the CEO is. If we're not getting 6 rate cuts or 3 rate cuts, and Biotech's, the main index, XBI is going to the 200-day, then Immunome can come back in too. So not till it got to about 17 did we start buying some back. And I've been doing so a little bit every other day. Big bull long term, but that story really worked for a lot of people and changed some lives. So proud of it.
Yeah, I hope everybody can appreciate that. If you're looking for someone that kind of goes behind the charts and understands the real undercurrents of what's moving the money around, I hope you guys can appreciate this. So Dave, we're going to go a little bit deeper into biotech because you were also very bullish on XBI coming into 2024. You said 4 weeks ago. So this is basically referencing in November, David was very bullish on biotech, very overweight. And yeah, and this pretty much says it all. David bets big on XBI. It went to 103. His target was 101. So people had plenty of time to get out near the top. And Jake Wujacek, our friend, who's a huge guy on Twitter, Epic Trades has absolutely killed the XBI trade. So David, how did you ride this so well?
So XBI was 65 after 2 years of just getting decimated, not just 22. I mean, just massive underperformance since late 21. And I'm looking at it, right? And I'm thinking, 2 years of just getting decimated. We're coming into a rate cut cycle. We don't know when it's going to begin, but it's eventually going to happen. And everyone's thinking it's going to be so far down the road that you can't own XBI because these small cap biotechs are so rate dependent. I said, well, there comes a point where value matters, right? It's not just about charts. It's not just about macro and rate cuts. And I said, science is what got us through COVID, right? This is me talking inner circle. And some of these companies are very important. Some of these companies are actually coming up with ways for people to live another 20 years when it comes to cancer and so on. This isn't just about like pie in the sky, take a shot and raise some money and hope for the next hot drug. Like some of them really change lives. So I said, there's some real value here. We're going to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And my exact quote was, XBI at 65 feels much like Bitcoin was at 16,000. You may not see the reason to own it, but I believe as a percentage, this has a much better risk reward profile than Qs, SPY, or any index out there. So this is where I'm staking my claim.
Okay. All right. So we are about to get into
I'll walk you through what happened, or are you going to walk through? I mean, bottom line, I didn't know if I was supposed to finish. We bought it at 65 to 70. It went to 101. I said, it's time to risk off. This is it's an index that's up 50%. I know everyone's excited about biotech, but we don't have rate cuts yet. It took, a few weeks, a few months, and I said it's time to take some off. I didn't know if I was supposed to finish the end part. Sorry.
No, we're all good, David. Okay, so I want to talk about something, David, I think is equally important because you've shown how you've helped people make money plenty of times. There's also the other side of it. It's one thing to help somebody make 10, 20, 50,000, whatever, say, but there's the other side, helping people make mistakes. Now, one of the big ones was everybody loved the banks into earnings. Now, you were talking about the banks after January earnings season, when the banks looked like garbage, you said to buy them. Flip side, they look great into earnings, and you said to sell them. So why were you telling people back off the banks into earnings season this time around?
It's a really simplistic kind of concept that I always say is where a stock is pre the print is half of the reason why it works or doesn't work. Because a lot of stocks build in earnings, of course, and have a lot of high expectations, and others don't. So in this case, the banks had a massive move. I mean, we had owned JPM at 135, Goldman Sachs under under 400, under 300 at like 285, 290. These moves were insane. And I just said, listen, I don't care how good earnings are. I think they're going to be pretty decent, but I don't think they're going to be good enough to drive these stocks higher. So risk reward, especially if you're an options player, I think is not there. You either want to sit it out, or if you have to, short them. I chose to sit them out, but I didn't see the risk reward there. So I said, you got actually, though I should continue, I said, you got to hope for a pullback that then you want to buy.
Okay. All right. Similar story. You also said, because we talked about on our live stream, either last week or the week before, Taiwan Semi and ASML, similar thing. You said, stay away from these guys. So again, is it just the same story as the banks?
Even harder in a way. So I said, listen, although they're great companies and the valuations aren't egregious, you still have to realize this is not Nvidia, right? TSM, ASML, these are not the type of companies that can raise revenue guidance by like 40, 50% overnight. And the SOX is up in a straight line, something like 130% over the last year and a half. And frankly, the bar is too high. You got to stay away, but maybe there may even be more downside in these guys, because if you really go back to where they came from, if you look at AMAT and KLA and Lam Research and Marvell, all these stocks, they've come so far that these two reporting, God knows what can happen if they're not good enough. So to me, it was like the easiest answer in the world. These guys may beat, but if they don't, the risk is far greater than you see in banks. They can just plummet.
Okay, guys. Okay, so in just a second, we are going to get into how you can join Inner Circle. But David, before we do that, can you give us some idea of what you see in the market near term, say over the next couple days, couple weeks?
Sure. I see Meta, I see Microsoft, I see Alphabet reporting earnings. We just had Tesla this evening. And I see the PCE on Friday. As we just discussed, I got fairly bullish short term last Friday. And today flattened out a lot of positions. I think tonight's earnings make people feel a little bit better. They were twofold, by the way. We had Texas Instruments, which has people feeling a little bit better about semis, but it's more of like a breath of fresh air, like it's not as important, but it's enough. And then we have Tesla, which is saying all the right things about a cheaper vehicle. So the stock is up. But I think ultimately it comes down to these companies because they're the guys spending money, especially on AI. PCE is one of the, if not the Fed's most important indicator. It's certainly one of them. So I think a lot of it comes down to the Fed and comes down PCE, which will influence the Fed and these earnings. And my gut, right, is that this rally will probably get sold, that the market right now saw some candles we haven't seen in a long time, right? They like Nvidia going down 10% in a day is a wake-up call. For me, it was a great opportunity. But on a longer term time basis, when you see a stock like Nvidia go down 10% in the day, SMCI go down 23%. Mind you, SMCI didn't pre-announce. They didn't pre-announce bad results. They just didn't pre-announce results, which are what we were all waiting for. And the response was down 23%. So that tells you a lot, right? So I think after seeing some pain, not me, but a lot of bulls that were buying at the top, I think we'll probably back and fill a little bit after this wonderful rally off Friday's lows. If Meta's unbelievable or if Microsoft's unbelievable, maybe not, but my gut is they're not going to be good enough to keep this rally, which is wonderful, going. I think there'll be some sell the good news over the next couple of days, and then PCE will really decide for us. And if PCE is soft, it might be that XBI and small caps take the baton and show some relative strength. So the next 3 days are like some of the most critical days of the year thus far, frankly.
Okay. All right. I think that is a perfect segue because yes, it is coming into a critical time in the market, which means it's time for you to think about something different. So we're going to talk about how you can join Inner Circle. So normally an application is required. We are waiving it for people who are attending this event because we've explained the requirements of the room and the invitations, so you know what's expected. But again, yes, we are waiving the normal application fee. So what you get is the big thing, obviously, you get membership in the Inner Circle VTF with David, Kira, and Rick. Now you get those long-term ideas like Amazon, Immunome, XBI, in addition to the short-term plays like Nvidia, Tesla, SMCI. And I'd say there's a good chance of some kind of Tesla trade tomorrow. There's real-time analysis of earnings reports.
Can I be direct, though?
Of course.
Well, we're on this. So Tesla just came out, right? And I said, guys, I got to do this event with Michael, which, no offense to everyone, it was a little frustrating because I was like, I want to trade Tesla. But I said, listen, all that matters here is really the car. Right. And I actually told Michael this before we got on. Michael, you might notice since I told you that the stock's gone up. I said, really, it's just like Netflix. What's key in our trader's job, a money manager's job, is to understand what makes a stock work. And in this case, really, the earnings almost didn't matter. It was, what the hell is Elon going to say to quell the fears of the street? And once they said they are not only focused on a lower price vehicle, but they are speeding up the process, I said, that's good enough. Buy any dip. I know a lot of people in the chat bought 149, 150, and I saw while we were on, it was 157. Right now it's 155. So we already had a trade in Tesla, but that's a type of like real, I'm not a salesman, so I don't know why I'm doing this, but I think it describes what we do better, right? It's like, it's not just about the chart or buy high, sell higher, or any of that silliness. It's about really understanding what makes a stock work, what doesn't make a stock work, when to take risk up, when to take it down. Anyhow, in this case, I knew what would make Tesla work, and some people are benefiting from it. Sorry, I'll let you continue now.
That's okay, David. So yeah, David and I were speaking on this call before we came on live, and he told me Tesla would go. I swear on my favorite book, David told me on the spot that Tesla would go up because of the car news. So again, yes, also access to a community of some of the smartest people you will ever meet. It's not just David, Rick, and Kira. You also connect with some amazingly smart people.
Very true.
Okay, so, and I actually just updated this a few minutes ago just because I was thinking about a lot of things what David talked about, money management. So this is what people love. It's that the big thing is focus, because not everybody wants to look at 600 different intraday charts of everything. They want to focus on the best ideas with the right risk reward. They want smart money management. That's a big thing. Like, it's not just about buying and selling. It's also the in-between, when to add, when to get away. Another big thing, David prevents traders from making big mistakes, like chasing Tesla after earnings, going after earnings report that have bad risk reward. Also, the team is crystal clear about their ideas and opinions. There is no ambiguity. When David likes something, you will know it. There will be zero doubt in your mind. So there's no iffiness. And also the community is just fun and really supportive. It's a good place to be. Yeah. There are a lot of there's a lot of laughing going on in Inner Circle. That's one thing. It's some of the funniest things I've ever seen in this business have happened inside the room. So, again, we value our community. So who joined? So we have professional traders, hedge fund managers, family office heads, corporate executives. Fun little sideline. A lot of professional poker players love Inner Circle. Entrepreneurs, venture capitalists. We have doctors, attorneys. Again, we have fun together, but there's a big focus on idea generation and making money. Again, if you are learning the basics, this is not a good place for you. So before you see the special offer, this is probably the most important thing we will say tonight. it is not a place for beginners. If you need to Google what is a call option, what is a moving average, what does an earnings report mean, this is not the place for you. So it is not a place for beginners or people with sub $100,000 accounts. If you have a $100,000 plus account, you can take advantage of the ideas. And if you have experience, you can actually understand what's going on, because David does not do hand-holding for beginners. It's just not his strength. He's great at working with more experienced, seasoned people. And, we don't want to be mean. We're never mean to anybody, but we reserve the right to refund and remove people who are not the right fit. Not everything is for everybody. And this is not something that is for everybody. So if you join today, we just ask you a few things. Be cool. Just if you join, observe the room for a few days, then start interacting, focus on ideas, avoid non-market related chatter. Don't ask simple questions you can Google, and be friendly, because we want everything to be productive and efficient. Because we have fun, we have laughs, but we want to keep things moving. And of course, there's the fun times when sometimes David his temper can go a little bit, and he gets a little excited, and he'll get on the mic and say, guys, we need to focus on something. One of my personal favorites is when he started yelling at everybody and said, we need to short AMD, because Josh Brown was bad-mouthing it on CNBC. David predicted it would go down. It collapsed, and everybody was happy. So, and you could see on the screen, thank you, DP. Great guidance in AMD. And of course, there's that infamous SMCI collapse. I was kind of jealous and angry at some of these people. We have people buying calls for 22, selling at 180. One guy paid 265 and sold for 77. That's like a 30-fold return intraday. Another person took $1,000 puts for 660, sold in the 80s. One person says their trading account pushed past 7 figures. So the ideas are a big part of it. Jesse Martin, Jesse, I hope you're listening today. Great guy. And he wrote this on Twitter. Props to Epic Trades for his guidance on SMCI today. In a bunch of trading rooms, found value in a lot of them, but no one out there is putting their neck on the line like David. And then, of course, there's Kira and David giving it ideas. This one was from Friday. Thursday or Friday. But
actually, Kira, Friday, you're right. As I'm buying, what was cool about it, as I was buying Nvidia, they were buying puts on SMCI that day. They did well.
This was so Friday was a strange day with David making money long and then making money short. So Rick was in SMCI puts at $1.50 and he was selling them over $5. Rick also had SPX Lotto puts into the close on Friday. He got in at 680. He's selling them over 11. So we love David, but Rick and Kira, they also do an unbelievable job. Again, real messages from the chat. If you joined, scroll back, you will see these messages. SMCI call was amazing. That was a ballsy, fantastic trade. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about pricing. So Inner Circle is $6,000 a year, and it's never discounted. But you could start today with a $700 monthly subscription. And obviously the goal is for you to make multiples of that in your first month so you can think about staying on. So this gives you 30 days of ideas from the team plus full community access. But of course, we like to sweeten the pot. So it's past 5 o'clock. Everybody wants to go home. So we want to give you a bonus for coming out and spending time with us today. So if you start for $700 today, we give you a 1-year subscription to the Epic Trades Alerts newsletter with David's top options ideas. This is a $1,497 newsletter, and it's included free with your $700 purchase. So if you pay $700 for Inner Circle, you get this $1,500 bonus. So add it up. It's a $2,197 total value, and it's $700 for you today. So this deal expires soon, so it goes away at midnight tomorrow. And we recommend you join now because of the trading opportunities you're going to have even just over the next 3 days. We have Meta, IBM earnings, the Tesla aftermath, Thursday, GDP, Microsoft, Google, Intel, Friday, the PCE price index. And then in the coming weeks, we have Amazon, Apple, Nvidia. I'm sure Supermicro is going to be a party too. But again, this is a reason to get in. Opportunities will be coming starting tomorrow. You don't want us emailing you tomorrow about the ideas you just missed after the open tomorrow. So if you want to take the special offer, go to t3live.com/circle, t3live.com/circle. Now, I'm going to blow up David's ego a little bit more because we're going to go through some of the things people have told us about Inner Circle. So Jesse, who's from New York, now in LA. My family and I recently bought our dream house in Los Angeles with an ocean view, tennis court, pool, and more rooms than we know what to do with. This would not have been possible without Inner Circle. Big one. Larry from New Jersey, this is a little bit more modest. He joined Inner Circle. He was down 5% when he started, but in a few short weeks, he turned that into a significant gain. Naveed from New York, who is a doctor, he's one of our biggest fans. We love him. He moved to the US in 2010, never thought he would be able to attain financial freedom this early. And he's been able to take amazing vacations with his family, and he's increased his charity work thanks to Inner Circle. Darren from New York, surprised by the straightforward nature of the interactions and explanations. Brad from California, he's just having a great time with his wife. David helped make his 34th wedding anniversary special, staying at eating places that we would have never experienced before you. Wife also has a new vehicle thanks to Inner Circle. Maybe it's one of those Teslas. Michael from New York, I learned a whole new the correct way to trade and prosper. Cecil from California, made the 1-year member free in just 2 or 3 days. Zoyce from Florida, recommended IC to many friends, and they all thank me. Ariel from Mexico, Inner Circle taught me to focus on a few great ideas. I am happy, and I could not ask for more. Darren from New York, again, he said, I cannot think more highly of the 3 moderators and the chat. Josh from New Jersey, Inner Circle is a great group of traders and genuine people. Lee from North Carolina, genuinely interested in helping people become better traders and make money. Pablo from Ukraine, we do have a lot of international members. Off the top of my head, I know we have people in England, Canada, Argentina, Ukraine, Israel, and a few other countries. So there are people from around the world. Rod from Utah, my favorite thing is the trading ideas offered and the character of the room. And they're David, Kira, and Rick are characters. You will have fun with them. Rob from Canada said, David's comments and warnings reel me back to reality. This is something we hear all the time, that people feel like they can't manage risk, they can't stay in control. And David kind of gives them a whack back to reality every so often. If somebody's getting too positive, too cocky, David will straighten him out and tell him to calm down. That's a big thing we hear all the time. This is probably one of my favorites. Charles from California, we granted just over 10 million this year to about 90 nonprofits. So you have indirectly greatly helped a large number of people less fortunate than we. Aaron from North Carolina said what started as a $300,000 to $400,000 dream turned into a $1 million dream home. So much love from my fam to you all. So again, go to t3live.com/circle, t3live.com/circle. Amber put the link in the chat if you want to join. So David, when you look back at all these positive messages, you see, like, how does that make you feel?
So the truth, well, not the truth, just it's something we haven't chatted about, so you have no clue I'm going to say it. The difference with us, by far, simple as this. I almost know every one of those people you mentioned. I have their phone numbers. I've talked to them. I know what they do. I know their kids' names. Some of them are dear friends. Some of them have slept at my house. It's a family, and a lot of people's lives are forever changed. That's why I still do it, because it's not for the business aspect. And there's some people it feels good to make a difference in people's lives, and actually have Aaron I was talking to this weekend, Naveed I talked to today. A lot of these people are real people I have real relationships with, and it's really cool to see that their lives are better, even if it's slightly because of me, Kira, and Rick. Then slightly. Sometimes it's a lot, but it's a good feeling.
Yeah, and so we have our first sign up already. So our friend James from the UK just joined. So thank you. You'll have a lot of fun with the team starting tomorrow. Okay, David. So I think a big challenge a lot of people have with trading and handling the financial markets, even though you're not purely a trader, how do you help people handle those day-to-day stresses of the market?
The biggest thing I've gone through is really how to control one's mind. And when I say control, none of us can ultimately control it, but to deal with it and to be as, let's say, emotionally intelligent as possible and not let emotion take over. So whether it's books that I read, whether it's talking to people on the phone, and then maybe more importantly, to really walk people through it. I think this is probably the biggest thing. Why we own something, what the actual risk is, why I'm buying the Qs, why I'm buying, you know, just like on a screen, see, oh, David's long the Qs. Listen, guys, I get it. Scary. The world's coming to an end, SMCI, so on. But ultimately, I've been looking for this pullback. There's a reason we're risk off, and there's a reason you haven't owned the Qs for the last few weeks. And now that we're down 30 points, and by the way, in like 3 days, this is where we take risk because it is right near the highs of December, because we are at the lowest RSI. So what happens is, if you understand the context of why you do something beyond XYZ, here's the price, if you actually understand why and how, it builds confidence and it keeps you calm. And I think that's probably our biggest difference is this is why we're doing something. This is when, by the way, it's not always perfect. This is, oh my God, if this goes this way, it means I'm actually wrong and I'm getting out. It's really going through the if, ands, the buts way ahead of time. So when it becomes stressful, it's a lot less stressful because the whole point is you've thought through everything before you enter the trade. And that's kind of how we do things is, hey, let's look at this calmly. We're not buying SMCI. We're not trying to guess where the bottom is. We're buying Nvidia that trades at 32, 33, 4 times earnings after it finally pulled back 20 some odd percent for the first time in 2 years. You're going to tell me that there's no shot at bounces? That's not guesswork. That's buying best in breed company that's growing way above its PE, and I think there's a good shot. So when people understand the kind of underlying reason we do stuff, it makes them calm on days like Friday. Maybe not calm, but makes it easier.
Okay, we have another member, Gregory, just joined us. So thank you, Gregory and James, for joining Inner Circle. We hope you'll be in the room tomorrow. Okay, David, a big thing you talk about all the time is how not everything is about the chart. So what are you, because I think a lot of people, when they think trading room community, they think charts. What are you adding on top of that to people?
I actually put that at like, it's kind of like charts are here and then there's 5 other things here, right? So if you don't have knowledge and if you don't understand what makes a stock work, I really don't believe charts do you a damn of good. I know guys who are so fancy with their charts. They're so good. They can't make a dime. So what we bring is actually knowledge. Hey, Netflix is a subscriber story. If they're telling you they're not looking at subs anymore, this is a stock that's not going to work short. So what we're bringing is knowledge. The next thing is organization. In other words, how we find idea flow and what to focus on. So over the past 3 days, when there was this discourse with the market, I said, do you want to own 10 positions and try and guess on MU and Dell and a bunch of stocks we traded before? Or do you want to own the one that's going to bounce first and bounce the most? So it's a way to like manage money and also conceptualize where you can find your best, excuse the expression, but bang for your buck, and also be able to go to sleep at night. So we're doing things like, hey, what's the PE, or shouldn't that be judged on free cash flow, not PE? It's bringing way more to the table. Or finally, Immunome. No one's ever heard of it. The chart looks like crap. But by the way, the CEO built a company and was there for 30 years that was sold for $42 billion. He's now the CEO. By the time the chart looks good, they'll probably be up 100%. Do you want to take a jab with me down here at 6 before everyone knows about it? So it's really about information and how to apply that information to maybe be a bit better than just the charts. What I like to say is everyone's looking at the same charts. So what edge do you have? You need something beyond just a good chart and trading a chart well, because confidence doesn't come from a chart. Confidence comes from knowledge or doing things in the past right, learning hard lessons. So it's all the other stuff that perhaps is equally or more important than the chart.
Okay, David. I think confidence is an interesting topic because we talk about what account size people should have to join the room, how much experience should they have, how much confidence do people need to join the room and really make the most of it?
It's a good question. I would say, so I'm stretched because we have let people in. You know, there are people honestly who've come in with $10 million accounts, but they didn't know their elbow from their nose. And it took a lot of time to help them and really kind of walk them through how to get better at this craft. So what I'd like to say is it's not really about the dollars. I've had people come in that have literally said, listen, I'm too small for the room. but I'm willing to be disciplined, and I have a long-term aspect. I have two people off my mind, Cecil and another young lady, I can't mention her name, but started with small accounts, 100 grand. They went to $1 million accounts, but it was because they chose to do this full time, 110%. So what I like to say is, if someone's not doing this full time and they can't at least apply themselves every other day and really look at things and absorb information, then I don't care if you have 200 grand or 50 grand. A lot of it is how much you put into it. If you put stuff into it and you're willing to ask questions and check in and not assume you know everything, then it almost doesn't matter if you have $1 million or 100 grand. If you have 20 grand, this is not the room for you. If you have 50 grand, it's really not the room for you. I have made exceptions for people, and honestly, it's worked out. But most people know this is not a room for someone who's running 70 grand. It's way too expensive for them. And frankly, sometimes I'm buying more Qs in a day than you'll probably buy in your lifetime. Not because I'm special, it's just you're probably a famous doctor somewhere. So 100 grand is a good starting point. Most people in the room have a lot more, but it's really about the type of effort they're making into things. I've had people that are smaller that, frankly, they couldn't buy the Qs with me on Friday or Nvidia, but they followed me in both calls and in both Qs and Nvidia, because if they bought themselves some time, it's a way to mirror what I do even with a small account. So I think a lot of it comes back to the person. If it's a person who, I want to check it out, it's fun, I'll come on once a week, and I have a $100,000 account, no, this isn't going to help you, and why waste your time? So hopefully that's a clear answer.
Okay. All right. And guys, again, go to t3live.com/circle to see the special offer. Okay. So David, we want to make sure people have an accurate idea of the type of ideas they will get once they're in the room. So could you talk a little bit about the mix of like equity ideas and option ideas and how long those trades go on?
Sure. I would say it's about, if I were to guess, it's about 70-30 stock and options. Rick may do a lot of options more than me, but overall it's about 70-30, maybe 65-35. And we are really a function of the climate. So when the climate is a little too cheery, like we've been over the past month, and I'm a bit more subdued, I will really try and figure out risk reward based on what the climate is. And what I mean by that is, if we're correcting and we're just taking cute long trades for reversals, options don't work because you get caught up in the chop. So a lot of it is about figuring out what's going to work best in the climate. During corrections, when you get chopped, options can just be a disaster. You can be right on the idea and still lose money on the options. So it really becomes a function of what's the idea, how much risk reward is there? Are we looking for enough movement on the up or downside for an option to work? And that's how we make that decision. Because there'll be people where I'll do Qs or I'll do Nvidia, and they'll say, I can only do it through an option. I'll say, it doesn't make sense for you, just skip this one. The IV is not right. But most of the time, 70% stocks, something like that.
Okay. All right. So what type of person would you say gets the most value out of working with you?
I have 7 or 8 different friends on the chat, right? A couple of them have stayed at my house. All of them have the one thing in common. Like, we're talking like a couple of them are way brighter than me, right? One's like the super doctor, one's this poker player dude. Another one is like literally a data scientist. I think he went to MIT. Some of these guys are like no joke bright. All of them don't tell me anything. They're like, they have no arrogance. They like just want to learn. They're always asking questions, and they don't think they're right. They just want to learn. And they've all killed it. That's the unicorn thing in the chat. It's the people that know everything. They worked at this firm. They ran this $100 million hedge fund and worked at Goldman. They know everything. They don't do as well sometimes. It's the humble people that are willing to absorb and get better each day, because I'm still getting better. There's stuff I still really need to improve on, frankly. Those are the people that do best. It's the people who come in and say, you know what, I have an idea. Like, they'll share ideas. There are guys on the chat who shared unbelievable ideas, but they don't claim to know everything, and they're open to learning and maybe finding out a better way. Those are the people that do best on the chat.
Okay. All right. So guys, we want to remind you, this is an amazing deal. You get 1 month of Inner Circle. You get 1 year of the Epic Trades newsletter for $700. This is a $2,197 total value. So even just for the newsletter, this would be an insane deal. So you get both for just $700 if you go to t3live.com/circle. And if you guys have any more questions, please post them in the chat while we have David for a few more minutes. Okay, David. So earnings season is heating up quite a bit. Big boys are starting to report over the next couple of days. How do you trade earnings? I guess that's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah, sometimes, I'll take stock in the print, but more often than not, a lot of times, unless I'm very long-term on it, like at Amazon, I was, stock and calls into the print a couple of quarters ago, but sometimes I'll just manage my risk via calls and puts. This, by the way, Tesla's now 159. This quarter there's some pressure, right? We're not getting those 6 rate cuts or 3 rate cuts. There's some pressure. So I'm going to play it via calls and puts. I see Meta as one where, everyone's bullish. I think Reels is picking up steam. It's going to be about how much money he's spending on, all his fancy, I forget what they call it, whatever his metaverse, it's a name that he uses for metaverse. Anyway, it's going to be about his CapEx spending and things like that. But I just don't see meat on the bone there. So I'm trying to figure out where is there enough meat on the bone for me. My 2 choices, there are going to be many, but Amazon next week, I really like the setup. I continue to think they're scaling well with AWS. I continue to think retail is holding up. I think their advertising business is a bona fide home run that people don't talk about enough, doing billions of dollars in revenue already. And I think the stock probably is going to get over 200. And then the one that hasn't done anything right, and yes, it recently bounced 20 and change off lows, but really has lagged behind the last 6 months because they've made a million mistakes with AI, is Alphabet, or Google, as it used to be called. So those are 2 I'll be looking at for earnings plays. I will probably skip Microsoft. I think there's a lot of pressure on. They're more a spender than a receiver of AI revenue, meaning I get it, big AI, ChatGPT, all that. But in the end, it's not moving the needle for them today. So with the PE they have, Azure is probably doing well. I don't think enough to move the stock. Not a big fan of the risk reward there. So the ones that strike me as 2 that might work are Google and Amazon in terms of Mag 7. I don't know if I'm playing them, both of them, but I'll probably be in Google this week and go from there. Facebook, I'll definitely, or Meta, I'll skip. Anyway, that's how I'm looking at it. Tesla, what I like to say is sometimes you don't even have to play the print. Like really, you can absorb the news, which we often do, right? Netflix, last quarter, it was ENPH. We absorbed the news and traded amazing. And today, I know many people that bought Tesla at 149 and we are 159 or 158.50 right now. So you don't always have to gamble and play the print. You really have to understand the print and see where there's opportunity. And there's going to be many more names. ServiceNow, I'm probably going to skip.
Okay, guys. All right. So just so we know, David is not lying to us about what just went down with Tesla. So this is the actual Inner Circle VTF. If you see right here where I highlighted, it says DP, thank you, DP, great Tesla call out. Amazing as always from our buddy Cecil. And also our good friend Rick March also picked up a few points in Tesla while we were on this call. So yeah,
I'm losing money and they get to make money. All right, cool.
Yeah. So I think everybody out there, can you type in the chat a thank you to David for sacrificing a Tesla trade for us? David's going to be very unhappy with Tesla at 159 right now. Guys, okay, so again, guys, I'm going to go through the offer one more time before we let David go tend to the dogs because they've been going a little wild. Again, guys, you get 1 month of the Inner Circle Trading Room and 1 year, yes, 1 year of the Epic Trades newsletter for $700. It's a total value of $2,197. If you want to join, all you have to do is go to t3live.com/circle, t3live.com/circle. If you have questions, you can email my friend Amber at t3live.com. I'm putting her email in the chat if you have any questions. That will close us out. So David, as always, it's fun. Thank you for for coming out with us. And everybody, if you have any questions, I encourage you to reach out to Amber. And if you want to take advantage of the special offer, go to t3live.com/circle, t3live.com/circle. David, thanks a lot, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Okay, guys, I had to let, David had to go. Do you have any more questions about the service or anything? I just want to hang on, make sure anybody have any last minute questions, I can answer. So Robert is asking, can a member catch up through the chat if they can't hear every minute of the audio? Yes. The ideas are actually shown. I'm going to share the screen so everybody can see it. So if you see up here, the ideas are typed out. So Rick just, he got long Tesla, caught a few points in it. So you don't need to be listening 24/7 to take advantages. So Vin is asking, is the room live during market hours? Yes. The room is open all day long. Technically people are speaking 24/7, but yeah, it's open all day long. Lisa is asking, is that $700 a month for as many a month as you want? No, Lisa, it's $700 for your first month. And then if you like it and you stay on, it's $700 per month after that. So obviously the goal is to make you a whole bunch of money. So you will want to stay on for many, many months. So Colorado Bill is asking how often our newsletter sent. This is referring to the Epic Trades newsletter. So there is one new idea each week. So it's David's favorite options idea of the week is in that newsletter. And then there are also updates typically sent on Monday and Friday, getting you up to date on what's going on with the market. So you'll get 2 to 3 alerts per week. And generally one of them is a brand new idea. So guys, again, if you want to take advantage of the special offer, go to t3live.com/circle. It's $700 for 1 month of Inner Circle plus 1 year of the Epic Trades newsletter. Yes, you get a whole year of the newsletter for $700. So Ken is asking, so it looks like the same screen chat setup as Alpha Team. So it's the same technology. It runs on the same VTF platform as the Alpha Team. So if you know how to use Alpha Team, this is super, super easy. But it's just David, Rick, and Kira running it instead of Scott, Dan, and Mike Chillo. And guys, again, t3live.com/circle, t3live.com/circle. Thanks, Ken. We hope you join. We already see Ken is in. So Daryl, Susan, Gregory, James, Ken, some other people. We have a whole bunch of new members. Any more questions I can answer for you guys before I go? Just waiting. There's video isn't quite real time with what's going on the internet. Okay, guys. So I am going to run. I hope you email Amber. Okay. Okay. So, as David said, the room isn't for everyone. If after the month you decide not to continue with the room, you keep the letter. Yes, you get the newsletter for an entire year. So even if you don't want the news, you can cancel the room. You keep the newsletter for a year, no matter what. It's yours. So if you decide not to continue with the room, yes, you keep the newsletter. Ken, thank you for joining. We really appreciate it. We hope to see you in the room tomorrow. So yeah, the room isn't for everyone. If the first month, if you're not crazy about it, you do keep the options newsletter, which is great. So we want to make this offer an easy win for you guys. What kind of return? So we do not, Rich is asking what kind of return? We do not promise returns. We do not guarantee returns. We are not, if you want to do that, you can find some joker on Discord or wherever. That we do not promise any kind of returns. If you're asking those types of questions, if you want a guaranteed return, this is not the service for you. T3 Live is not the company for you. Okay. So Lisa is saying, explain that $700 a month once again. So it rebills once a month at $700. So it's $700 per month, but you can cancel at any time. You are not obligated to take a second or a third month. If you don't like it tomorrow, you just email us. You say, I don't want this anymore, and we cancel it. You're not obligated to stay after the first month, but you do keep the newsletter for the entire year. Okay, Vin is asking, are the options generally short-term or long-term? So there is a mix. Sometimes it's a same-day trade. For example, on Friday, the team often likes to take what they call lotto trades, which means they are taking trades that expire the same day. Sometimes the options trades go on for a few weeks or a month. So it's short-term and long-term mixed together. Carl is asking, how many hours does the average person remain in the room each day? Are you referring to Carl? Are you referring to members or the moderators like David? So the moderators like David, they were in the room pretty much all day long. The members, some people are in there for like a half hour at the open, and some people are in there all day long. It's up to you. You don't have to be in there all day if you don't want to. Ronaldo is asking, are there any courses that I can take to get the skills necessary to join? It sounds like, so Ronaldo, it sounds like you're a total beginner. We don't recommend you join the room if you're a beginner. Ronaldo, you want to contact Amber, and she will, I'm going to put this in the chat so you have her email address, Ronaldo. Contact Amber, and she will help you figure out what's a better option for you. Okay, guys, any more questions? Is there anything else I can answer for you? Okay, guys, thank you for coming out with us. Amber is going to email you the replay in just a little bit. And again, can't encourage you enough to go take advantage of the special offer at t3live.com/circle. Ritz, I'm not sure what your question is. Our options, STRSI, not sure what you mean. If you could clarify, I will answer your question. Ritz, if you are out there, I will answer your question, or Amber, you can email us if you want. Okay, guys, I think that's going to close this out. Again, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Okay, Colorado Bill, of course, I'm trying to eat dinner. Colorado Bill has a question. Are the newsletter trades mostly stock or options? The newsletter is an options newsletter. The Epic Trades newsletter is just options. The room has stock and options, but the newsletter is just options. So Ritz are the options straight or like straddle type. The options are almost always call options, occasionally puts, I believe, but they're almost always straight calls. So they're super simple to execute. They're easy to put on. Again, guys, t3live.com/circle, t3live.com/circle. Any more questions I can answer for you guys? I'm going to shut down in about 20 seconds. If you don't have any more questions, I'm going to shut down in about 15, 14, 13, 12, 10. Any more questions? Okay, looks like you guys are good. Again, for the 5th time, thank you for coming out with us. We encourage you to email Amber at t3live.com. If you have any questions, t3live.com/circle, t3live.com/circle to join. And I popped Amber's email on the screen. If you have any questions, she is amazing at helping people understand whether or not Inner Circle is for you. So I encourage you to email her with any questions you have. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.